Happy New Year to everyone watching. Now, I think a lot of people are thinking about going on a diet because of overdoing it over Christmas to get their body back into shape. But what about our pockets? We've titled this show Money Diet because we're going to be setting you all a challenge, if you want that is, to not overspend this month and to try to get your finances back on track, especially if you've gone a bit wild over the festive period. Not overspend in January with all these sales going on, you might ask. Yes, because I have some great guests on tonight who are going to give you all the tools that you need. I have Claire Scott-Dryden, who helps families to save money and is going to be speaking about household budgeting tips, especially when kids are going back to school. We also have Zoe Zipper, a personal stylist, who's going to be speaking about how to resist the January sales and only buy things that will last throughout the year. And the lovely Natalie Liu will be back to talk about being on a budget date. So she's going to be teaching us, you know, things that you can do if finances are a bit tight. So if you want to get in touch at any point during this show, you can tweet Chrissy B Show. You can also Facebook The Chrissy B Show or email chris@chrissybshow.tv. And also if you want more information, the website chrissybshow.tv. So let's introduce our first guest, Claire, who's going to be speaking about household budgeting tips. Good evening, Claire.
Hi,
thanks
Chrissy.
so
Nice
much.
to see you again.
Oh, it's lovely to have you back.
Happy New Year.
Thank you, you too. Okay, so you have some points for us, because I know like it's a lot of pressure for a lot of mums. Probably spent quite a lot over Christmas, you know, buying kids gifts and things like that. And
I've certainly spent a bit too much.
have you? I can imagine.
Always happens. Always mean not to.
I think parents, they do try to kind of set a budget over Christmas, but people tend to
get carried
overspend
away.
anyway.
And I think what tends to happen is that they don't buy early enough. I meant to this year buy my presents sometime in November, so I didn't rush at the last minute. Because I think if you rush, you always overspend. You always have impulse purchases, and that's where you get tripped up, I think.
And people do say to wait till the January sales, but no one waits till the January sales to do Christmas shopping.
No,
Sorry,
but it
doesn't work.
We just shop again, don't we, in the January sales? So anyway.
All right, so you got 10 points for us. First of all, you said here to have a budget plan.
Well, I really do think, and I'm planning on doing this myself, I want to sit down with a nice cup of coffee, relaxed situation, children back at school, time to myself, and just decide what it is I spend, what I need to spend on a weekly basis. Right. And I plan to decide, you know, what we need for food, what we need for clothes, what we need for entertaining, and just try and stick to my budget so that I don't overspend as the weeks go on through the year. Do
you think there's a lot of people that don't do that? Because I think most people know about budgeting. What do you think prevents people from actually sitting down and doing one?
Well, I think they may do it in their heads, but I think actually you need to write it down. And it may seem hard at the beginning to think you're going to stick to it, but I think once you get into a routine, and perhaps when you've spent throughout a day, you come back and you re-look at your budget and see what you have left remaining for that week. And it sounds a bit sort of arduous, but I think after you've done it for a while, it becomes a natural thing to do, and you'll just remember to only spend what you've budgeted for. Yeah. I think another top tip actually is to take out the money that you think you might need for that 1 week. So don't use your debit or credit cards, just use the cash that you've got in your pocket. And you soon will find out as soon as it gets lighter that you've been overspending or you've got a bit more for something special.
It's quite good,
I think
actually.
it's a really good idea.
The only thing I was concerned about was having money like cash laying around in the house. So I'm trying to kind of hide it in different places. But I used to have this for the food, then that for going out, for example. Yes. I did it for a while, you know, when things were a bit tight.
Yeah,
but I think it's quite a good idea because it does keep you quite disciplined.
I think it's a very good idea. And if you do happen to buy something online, you take that money out of your money that you've taken out in cash and put it to one side for the next week, perhaps.
Very good. Okay. So you also got here recycle old school clothes.
Well, I just think there's lots of ideas that if you actually have time to think, you could think about how you could organise your household so you don't just throw away things, but you actually make some money from the things that you have. So it might be going through children's wardrobes, your own wardrobe, perhaps putting to one side that school uniform that no longer is being used or is too small, your own clothes that are too small, and perhaps taking it, of course, some of it may be taken to the charity shop, but sometimes you can actually swap or sell things to your friends or within your school community. And I think that's another idea. I think we all have to be a bit more inventive.
Like run some kind of scheme for this.
Well, it could be a scheme that you run within your school, or it could just be amongst your own friends. You know, everybody has different age children and different sizes of children, and I think, why don't we swap our clothes? And sometimes my children wear, you know, a T-shirt for, you know, a couple of months and they've grown out of it.
It's true. Kids grow up fast, don't they?
You know.
Do you think people are a little bit embarrassed to sort of ask other people? Because I'm wondering, because I think it's a really great idea, you know, to swap things around and to sell things maybe to each other and like in a scheme. But I think maybe some people are a bit like, oh, I don't know, I don't want to say anything because people might think I'm not okay financially.
Well, I think amongst your friends, you know, you should be able to openly suggest that, and I think actually it'll probably all catch on.
That's what I'm saying. I think it just takes one person to suggest it, and then everyone will do it.
I know, thinking about my children again, there's so many fads and crazes that they have at school where they want this toy and that toy, and you buy it, and it lasts a couple of weeks. And you know what? I've been thinking about this. I think, wouldn't it be a great idea if we talk to other parents, who I'm sure are in the same boat, and say to them, look, could we borrow that hex bug for the weekend and allow my children to have a play with it? And next week you have the toy. Less clutter, less spending of money, and everybody. And my children would love to share somebody else's toys. They would think that's more of a treat than buying it for themselves.
Such a great idea.
So anyway, these are sort of ideas that I've been thinking about. But I think you can only do this if you sit down and think about it. You know, have time to actually plan things.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay. So number 4, research and have a shopping list. What's that one about?
Well, the January sales are coming up, as you know, and it's so easy just to go out there and impulsively buy, isn't it? And I think, again, part of the planning is to say, what do we need? And actually to write a list of what you might need, and whether you're going online or whether you're going into the high street, is to buy just what's on your list. And I think that's a discipline that we could learn as well.
That's hard, isn't it?
It is hard. It is hard.
Especially when they put things right sort of
it is hard.
eye level, and like, you know, these sales and things. It's terrible.
It is hard. But I think it's possible.
We can do it.
We can do it, absolutely. That's what we know. You've got to start from the beginning of the year and hope you'll progress in the right way.
We're going to do it, you'll see. Okay, now shop online.
Well, I've got a top tip here.
Yeah.
I have to mention kidsstart.co.uk. It's a wonderful site. You can join for free. And basically what you do is you can shop at any one of their retailers, and they will give you back 20% of what you spend.
Wow,
and put it into a savings account for your child.
That's excellent. 20% is quite
20%, up to 20%.
Yeah.
So, you know, whether you're doing your regular grocery shopping or your children's school clothes or their stationery or your own fashion clothes, your utilities, your mobile phone, everything should be bought via Kidsstart. And the money will be put to one side for the next expense that you might have, whether it's your child's next first birthday or whether you save for when they're 18.
So there are a lot of places involved in this scheme then?
There are 500 or so different retailers, all the retailers that you and I would normally shop at. I mean, everyone, you know, nearly all the regular retailers.
So that's something that I'd never heard of, and maybe a lot of parents didn't know about this. But that's excellent, like, for parents to know about, isn't it?
I do recommend. It's a no-brainer to join. So join, everybody. Kidsstart.co.uk.
Is
it's free to join, yes.
Okay. Yes. And why in general is online shopping cheaper? Is it because you're not going through the aisles, maybe?
Well, you know what? We had a little bit of a discussion outside just now about our online shopping tips, and I think it's the fact that it's a fair amount of effort to go into the different retailers and decide what you're going to be purchasing, and you can actually see the list of the items that you're purchasing in your basket, and you can see them adding up, and you see at the end your vast amount of money which you're about to put your credit card details in to purchase, and it's much harder to do that than it is on the high street when you're buying a £10 here or £50 there, and you actually can't remember how much you've spent, and you've ended up spending £500 without thinking about it.
It's so true, because I do that. I do online shopping for groceries, so I do spend less when I actually shop online than going into the store, because I will always pick up something else that wasn't on the list. So, that would be quite nice for a snack. And
you know what? The other thing is, another thing to remember is never do your grocery shopping or any kind of shopping when you're hungry, and especially when your children are hungry, because what tends to happen is that they're needing some subsistence, and you'd go and buy something off the shelf which you wouldn't readily normally buy, and that all adds up. So plan, write your shopping list, and go out and do your shopping.
Okay, or shop online.
Or shop online, and again, if you shop online at Kidsstart doing your groceries, you get money back on every time you make a purchase.
Great. Okay. Now, sharing things with friends you've already talked about. Was there anything else that you had to say on that?
Well, I think there are lots of ideas of sharing with friends. I mean, we can all be very inventive. I think there are ways you can, share your car rides. You can certainly share your books and your clothes we've spoken about, your toys we've spoken about. There's a nanny share opportunity where, rather than having a babysitter for yourself, you might share them amongst other friends. Then another great website called nannyshare.co.uk, where you can actually find nannies that would...
That's a big problem for a lot of mums, isn't it, and parents, because it's so expensive sometimes to have someone to look after your kids, especially if you don't have family members around close by that will do it for nothing, because normally they're happy to do it for nothing, especially the grandparents. But for those that sort of on their own somewhere,
then why not share? And the children love it so much more, have friends around.
That's such a good idea.
That's another idea.
Okay. All right then, and you've also got here number 7, switching suppliers.
Well, I think, first of all, there's an education, for us all in the home to make sure we do turn lights off and things like that. But certainly we can look at your energy supplier and see whether you could switch suppliers and get a cheaper tariff rate, or combine your electricity and your gas and your other areas together and perhaps get a cheaper rate. On mobile phones, again, this is something that I'm thinking of, rather than having a contract, why not have a pay-as-you-go? Yeah. And then you can just remember how much money you're spending each month on your phone. Sometimes my phone bill is extraordinary, and I just wonder what would happen if I did have a pay-as-you-go. I just remember not to use it so much.
Yeah. Because we don't really need it that much, do we? I think, especially us girls, we like to talk about
we do. But I think, if we're going to try and budget, I think that's one of the areas that we could think about.
Okay. And number 8, buy fresh, not pre-packed. Now, isn't that more expensive, buying fresh?
Well, I think it's more healthy.
Yeah.
I like to promote that as well. I think that the pre-pack can often be more expensive, and you don't get as much. You don't make as much quantity, and perhaps not bulked as making fresh food would be. You do have to be careful, but I'm always one for making sure that I'd like to encourage people to buy fresh than pre-packed. One of buying own brand items from grocers is a good way of saving on money. I know that some friends of mine have 3 children. They all go to the supermarket together. They all have their list, these little children.
Oh, and they have their own list.
They have their own list, and they're told to go and find the cheapest of whatever the products are that you've got on your list. And it's a great challenge for them. They always come back with their own branded products, or whatever they might be. But it's a great way to entertain the kids, keep them busy, and hopefully not spend quite so much.
That's really good. Yes. That's a good idea. Okay. And now, number 9, pack your own lunch in advance.
Well, I think that, again, I think I've mentioned this just now, that if you go out, whatever you might be doing, if you go out hungry, then you're more likely to have grumpy children. You're going to be grumpy too.
I'll be grumpy.
And you end up sitting having a cup of coffee in one of the coffee shops and a bun, probably, which is going to cost another fortune. I think, be prepared again. I think the whole essence of budgeting and being prepared for the next year is to give yourself time, prepare yourself, and whether it means eating or budgeting or planning, writing lists of what you need, and then go out and
see, it all happens sort of before, doesn't it? Like the planning thing is so important, because you're more organised, you're less stressed.
Yeah. You
save money. It's just take a few minutes just to think before you do anything. Yeah. It's really, really important.
I think really I'm sort of thinking of myself when I'm saying all these things. I rush around so much.
I know,
if only I could just sit down and plan, then perhaps life would be a bit easier.
That would have to be in the middle of the night.
I know, exactly.
I'm sorry, that's the only time I've got some time to plan.
I know.
All right, then number 10, finally, find ways to make money. Give us some ideas for that, Claire.
Well, what ideas could there be? If you live in a house where you've got a spare room, there may be opportunities to rent that room and have a lodger. I know we don't all want somebody else in our house, but there may be times when you just need to sacrifice a few things just to get back on.
Sometimes people just want a place for the weekend. If you live sort of near some kind of venue that is quite popular, sometimes people just want to.
Absolutely, I've got friends in all sorts of directions. One who does do exactly that. They rent their room out to people who come to conferences, or so it's just a sort of bed and breakfast, I suppose. Yeah. She calls it a better way to stay, and so that's a rather nice way of doing it. I know people who've rented out their gardens for events. And have given people the opportunity of having a party in their garden.
That's an interesting one, because it's not so much sort of invading your privacy then, is it?
Yeah, so. and some of these London houses, they have sort of side alleys, so people who rent the garden don't even actually have to interfere with the house at all. They go down the side, have their garden, and it's rather a fun opportunity. There's lots of different ways. They may be making crafts, it may be looking at how to reposition the clothes that you've got so they actually become more style for this time of the year. I mean, lots of things that people just have to be more creative, more inventive.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think
that's fun as well.
People have got a creative streak in them. That's why sometimes they just don't explore it.
Yes.
But unfortunately, there's some people that will only sort of start exploring that when they're desperate. But it's good to do, even if you're not short of cash. I mean, it's always good to save, isn't it? And you can spend that money elsewhere.
Yeah. Oh, goodness me, yes.
Really
we all want that, don't we?
Definitely. Claire, thank you so much for those lovely tips.
That's all right.
And if you want more information about Claire's organisation, it's also going to be up on the Chrissy B website, chrissybshow.tv. Now we're going to go to something you mentioned something actually we're going to be speaking about in the next part, which is about the clothes and sort of swapping things around.
That's
and
a great
like
idea. Fantastic
So we're going to
idea.
hear lots
Good.
about that
I'll be
after
listening
the break.
to that too.
Thank you, Claire. So we're going to be joined by Zoe Zipper after the break, so join us then. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show. Well, it's January, the sales have started. How on earth can we resist the temptation to buy loads and loads of things that, let's face it, probably we don't even need? I now have with me Zoe Zipper, who's a personal stylist, and she's going to be teaching us a thing or two, aren't you, Zoe?
It's a pleasure to be here today.
Thank you so much.
I know myself, I can struggle with all the shops that entice anybody. Anybody into fashion will walk down the high street, you can't avoid it, it's in your face all of the time, and we just feel so inclined to be on trend. And what I wanted to talk about is that you don't necessarily have to follow the crowd. I want to talk about reinventing yourself, but knowing what works for you and maybe taking things that you already own and making them a bit more fun and a bit more seasonal. We follow trends nationally and internationally to the point where there are no seasons anymore, and we're dressing for winter and we're looking at photos in LA and they're on the beach, but we are so exposed to it all and it's very hard to know what we're wearing.
We just want everything at once.
Yeah, that's right, that's right. So what I've done is I've brought in some things, you know, it's January, we've still got the nip in the air. I think that a great accessory to just bring into the wardrobe is the fake fur trend. And nice. I am a massive fan. I think it's so cool. You can add it to any outfit. You add a collar and it just livens up any outfit. You can put it on something that you've already got. You can wear it alone with a little dress. I just think it's funky and glamorous. I really like the look. Yeah. I think it's been on trend since probably 2008. It's very boho, brought in probably like Sienna Miller, that kind of look. Yeah. So I think it works for all age groups as well. Like, who doesn't like clean and glamorous? I think so. I think that, you know, you can take something a bit more like this, which is better for, you know, there's more room in it. You can wear it on an evening. Things like that are really useful to have in the wardrobe, I'd say, because it is so transferable.
With this kind of thing, would you wear more with like a coat or jacket, or could you wear this with a dress as well?
I'd say that you can pop that over a coat like this and you've got like a whole new collar to wear. Yeah. Or in an evening, you can wear it around the shoulders. So posh. And you've got, you know, you've got a totally different look. And that kind of thing, when you're thinking about cutting back, and what we've heard just earlier from Claire, when you're thinking about kind of utilising what you've got or having more than one use for things, you need to think about, in accessories, how can this transfer day to night and things like that. And that's where I think shopping this season is all about planning. I totally agree.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I really think that with all the websites, you know, we can stay in touch with all the things we like. We're inundated with all the newsletters. We've got constant feeds of all the things that are going on in fashion. And you need to really apply your style to what's going on around you. Because I understand, you know, not everybody has the time. People have children. You might have to dress for work and you can't always be as crazy and as fashionable as you want to be. So I think that what you've got to do is really search for things that suit you. Because
that's the thing about the sales, because you tend to kind of buy a lot of things that, because they're cheap and you think, oh my gosh, if I don't buy this now I'm going to lose out, and then the stuff doesn't even suit you, so you need to know your own style first of all.
I think that's excellent point. Well, the first thing we do, we go in, we see the price tag, we're like, oh, 70% off, that's unreal. Go for it. And you check your balance and you can't even remember buying it. And it's that thing where be proud of what you own. Think, you know, I got a really good bargain and I'm really, really proud of myself for even finding it. Which, moving on to my next little venture, which is my favourite pastime, is charity shopping. Yeah.
Which is getting quite popular, isn't it? Because before, a few years ago, it was like a big no-no to walk into charity. I think a lot of people were embarrassed to walk into charity, but you can find some fantastic things in there.
Honestly, I think what I'll show you now is I found, this is very recent purchases. This is a Gucci, genuine Gucci jacket.
Wow.
It's suede, it's beautiful,
That's
it's
lovely.
timeless. You know, these kind of pieces, yes, you can get the look in Topshop, but you won't find a suede jacket for £40 in Topshop.
Wow.
So that alone
Yeah.
is proof that you can find real designer items.
Gucci.
There you are. For you know, not even nothing. You know, I don't even know that doesn't come close to the retail price of something like that. So you're not cutting back. You're actually getting way beyond your means in a way. So you might feel like you're making cuts to things, but you're actually getting some stuff that, you know, I would never in my mind think, oh, you know, I want a Gucci jacket this season, but I've been able to find one.
Yeah.
And in that way...
You didn't go out looking for one, you just kind of stumbled across it as you went in.
But you've got to be selective,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, that's where you can get caught out, because you're not actually... When you go into basically like a jumble sale setting, it's not all displayed to entice us like a H&M or a Topshop, where it's like an art that what they do there to even get us through the door. They know selectively what they're doing.
Yeah.
This is much more a personal, what's going to look good on me thing,
Right.
you know?
Okay.
So I think, again, with this jacket, these are really in at the moment with the shirling inside. I've seen these retail for about £60, and I got this for £8.95.
Oh my goodness.
So there you go.
You're serious?
Yeah, things like that.
£8.99?
So things like that,
Wow.
I mean... And the satisfaction,
warm as well.
yeah, it's, you
weather.
know, for this weather, it's perfect. And the satisfaction from that is the buzz that everyone gets out of this spending habit.
Yeah.
You know, we all like being involved in it, and it does make us happy. And there is this kind of instant fulfillment that we all want. And, you know, to say like stop spending, you know, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you can try and just feel like you're really achieving something with shopping, enjoy it. It's a great habit, but you have to be careful. That's all.
You have to be disciplined.
Discipline is the key. Yeah.
So say, okay, we have people now that are watching that they are going to go shopping.
Sure.
They're going to buy something or several things. What's the best advice on what kind of things to get that will maybe last throughout the year, rather than sort of just being something that's going to like they maybe wear once, or even just stay stuck in the wardrobe for the whole year?
Definitely consider your shape and your size and things like that, because seasonally our weight and our figure will fluctuate. And I think that if you buy things in decent sizing, that's the way to do it. A lot of people want to fit into their bikinis for summer, and they're like, oh, well, it's winter, so I can wrap up in my jumper. I think what you have to do is have a perfect balance and understand that when you're looking for like a good pair of jeans, make sure it will fit you all through year through.
Especially at Christmas.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because and be true to yourself. You know, a lot of people, they feel a lot of pressure to stay slim or stay a certain size. But we all know there's that sort of comfortable size that you are, and stay with that and respect that and appreciate your size. And there's so much out there for everyone at the moment. And I think that you can really, really be able to find things, especially in secondhand shops, you know, and things like that. You're not limiting yourself to fashion. And I think that there is a real market for anyone and everyone, as long as you consider it. I mean, have icons. I think that's a really good tip. Have icons, look up to people, but don't try and be anyone else.
Right.
So look up to Kate Moss and think, oh, she looks fabulous down you know, when she's walking out of Waitrose, why can't we all look like that? But we can, but it's about being confident and expressing who you are through being comfortable in your size and in the nature of dressing. I think it's anything that fits your body shape, you'll feel fabulous in all year.
Okay, how about colours for this time of year? What do you think?
I think don't avoid colour. I think a lot of the
I love
time,
colours.
yes, there you go.
Yeah.
I think colour, you know, it brightens up the mood. You know, it's miserable and dark outside, and we want to be able to have splashes rather than head to toe colour. So you can insert things very cleverly by just having highlights, even like the red nails you've got there.
Yeah.
You know, they're in season, you know, we've just had Christmas. However, it makes it has that pop to, you know, not everything has to be so kind of dull in the winter time. And, you know, a bit of fur, a bit of sparkle, you know, don't be shy to have like, you know, subtle touches in your accessories that kind of create elements of it could be any time of year. Like, I'm wearing shell earrings. Who knows? I could have been to Barbados this Christmas. But it's like emulating how you want to feel. Dress like you've just walked off the beach if you like, but be sensible when you're spending the money.
That's right.
Yeah. So just embrace the feelings. Like, you can wear, you know, you're probably going to be finding lots of sort of summer styles in this kind of sale. And don't be afraid to layer them. You could wear a little beach dress with like long sleeves underneath, put a waist belt on it, and you can really style some nice things. There's loads of funky tights out there at the moment. So you have to just be able to use things productively.
Be creative as well. Don't be afraid to try different things. And I'm sure like your girlfriends will tell you if you look a mess or something. There you go. If you don't get it quite right. So,
I agree.
But you know, you can try. You can always try, can't you?
Be creative.
Zoe, thank you so much for this.
It's been such a pleasure.
Advice.
Thank
you so much.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so then after the break as well, some more money saving tips, because we've got Natalie joining us, who's a relationship writer, and we're going to be talking about budget dates. So join us after this. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, and now we're going to speak about budget days, and the lovely Natalie is back with us again. Hi, Natalie.
Hi.
So glad to have you back. Happy New Year, yes. Okay, so we're going to be speaking about budget dates, because I always believe it's really important for couples, whether at the beginning of their relationship or sort of more long-term, even married couples that have been married for ages. I think it's really, really important for them to still go out on dates, and I do with my husband. Like, we try once a week to go on a date, just to spend time together and, you know, catch up
we would try to do the same thing as well. It's not always easy to do it every week, because we've obviously got a couple of kids, but I think it's important that you still make the effort to try and do something special together.
Definitely.
Even in January.
Yeah. I think it's nice and cozy though when you go, when it's cold and you're cuddling
definitely.
and stuff. Yeah. Even walks in the park are good for me. That's something.
Yeah, true. I'm not good with the cold. I'll be the indoor dates.
Okay. I love the outdoors. But anyway, let's go to the budget date. So we've got a few things that we can suggest to our viewers that they can do, because it doesn't mean because you're a bit low on cash that you can't still have fun and you can't go out and do stuff, because there are some pretty cheap things you can do.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I mean, you know, we live in London and I think that the wonderful thing is there's a lot of free or very cheap museums for people to go to, museums and galleries.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a lot of exhibits there, and there's cafes within there. You can have tea, and I think for a date, you can really end up sort of having a big conversation about what you're looking at, and, you know, kind of charge your imaginations and have fun. I mean, I've been to the Natural History Museum with my husband, and the kids haven't necessarily been there with us because we both really, really enjoy that. The Tate Modern, you know, it's fantastic as well, as is the National Portrait Gallery, the Science Museum, you know. And I think that museums help you to sometimes think about the big kids within you, but as well, it's cheap. You know, because with most of them being free, you can go, okay, well, we'll go and have a tea or, you know, a glass of wine even, you know, in the cafe.
So you don't have to spend too much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going off the point a little bit, I know some people, especially if they're going on a first date, for example, they're not really sure if they're going to, like, if the conversation's going to flow with the other person. What would you suggest would be like, this kind of place would be good, wouldn't it? Because like what you say in museums, because you've got something to look at, least you can, if you run out of conversation, say, that's a nice picture over there, that's a nice...
Yeah, it's a bit of a distraction, because you can have a bit of a... I remember years ago going on a date to the National Portrait Gallery, and I don't think I'd been there before, actually, when I went with him. But actually I thought it was going to be weird, because it was like a first date, but actually it kind of broke the ice, because you'd see something and you might think, oh, that's a bit strange, or you'd both kind of discuss whether you thought that it was, you know, imaginative or a wonderful piece of art like everybody might think it might be. But also you get a bit of people watching in museums as well, so you can have a bit of a laugh and a giggle as well.
That's good.
So I think that museums are something that work really well, whether you're on a date or a more established couple. As do gallery, you know, going to an art gallery as well. I think is another great way of, you know, going on a date, especially if you get to go to an opening or something like that where there's wine and cheese. You don't have to spend any money.
Yes, that's a good idea. I can imagine just sort of going to a restaurant with someone that you don't really know very well, and then there's like awkward silence, and you just got each other to look at. It must be so awkward.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely.
I would really hate that. Okay, so what else can people do?
if you don't want to, and if you don't want to spend like dinner, could be quite. You can rack up quite a bill with dinner, but then you could meet up later on in the evening and go for ice cream. Together, or during the day, you know, you could go sort of mid-afternoon and go for ice cream together. You know, it's fun. It's a nice dessert. They're normally, you know, you can get these really lovely sort of genuine Italian. What do they call them? The gelateria.
I love those. Oh,
and
gosh.
you know, I think there's some wonderful ones around London, and I think, and there's quite a few different sort of price brackets as well. You know, so they don't have to be. You know, there's some franchises as well that are quite popular. Is it called Scoop or something like that, or one of these places?
That one.
But there's also these frozen yogurts, but they're just a nice place. You know, they're a nice way of meeting up. You know, different to go and meeting up in Starbucks or some little cafe or something like that.
Yeah.
So
there was a guest on the other day actually that I think she said when they were students, because they couldn't afford to go out for meals and stuff, they used to eat at home and then just go out for dessert. So you still get that, you know, that going out experience, but without having like a 3-course meal, which can probably end up costing you like £40-50 if you don't drink alcohol. That is, if you drink alcohol, that's even probably even more.
Absolutely. So, and so, you know, I would definitely recommend that. And you know, I think it feels a little bit romantic as well. You know, to go for dessert together.
It's nice.
It's, you know, I think it's nice. It's a nice change. I think as well. Speaking about the whole dinners thing, I think it's a lot easier to date if you are able to save, you know, on your meals, and you know, things like Taste London.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, we're big fans of it. We've been using Taste London cards on and off now for I think about 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
You know, you can go to some really, really nice places, you know, around, you know, London, the southeast, and I think, as far as I know, I believe actually they're spread out around the country now. In all different areas, and you can save a significant amount on your bill. And in some of the places, that includes alcohol as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
There, And I think that it kind of takes the pressure off, particularly if you're somebody who's going on first dates. So, for instance, you're using things like dating sites, or you know, you're meeting people. You can rack up quite a bill, sort of putting yourself out there to try.
Imagine going on all these first dates.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. So if you use something like a Taste London card, then I just think it's a great way of helping you to save some money, because you can look at your bank balance after Christmas and the New Year and think, how am I supposed to afford to take anybody anywhere or go anywhere if I'm asked to sort of split halves on a bill? So if you know you've got a Taste London card, or
it's 50% off or 2 for 1, isn't it?
And top, you know, there's Top Table, I think, is another one where you can get tables in some very upmarket restaurants as well. You know, they might have like a last minute tables so you might be able to get, you know, a table in there and get a really, really good deal on that as well. So, you know, sort of shop around, you know, on those type of deals, because a lot of the places, I mean, even on Taste London, going back to that brilliant card, but I mean,
we're big fans of it.
It has everything from, I mean, even Pizza Express, you know, is on there, and I mean that it does save a fair old whack, you know, off that as well.
You save at least £15 if you have like 3 courses. You do save at least.
Yeah, no, definitely,
which is great.
And it's the quality of places and the breadth of them in different, you know, there's all different cuisines, you know, in it as well. It means it's really, really good value for the card. You'll easily make back the money that you spend on getting it.
Yeah, definitely. I think within like 2 meals you'll make it back.
Yeah, easily.
And if you go like every week.
And
you can go for breakfast. I went out for breakfast with my sister and I used the Taste card. So we got breakfast for like, what, £10 for 2 of us? So that's an even like a nice thing to do maybe on a date as well. Why does it always have to be dinner or the evening? You can go out for a nice breakfast or brunch.
Oh, well, absolutely. And actually, I mean, there are some great places out there as well that do offers on certain days of the week. And I mean, I've been out in London where they say you can get 2 courses for a tenner, you know. I think it's like around Angel and Old Street and places like that. And who's going to refuse to go out on a date for, you know, where it's only going to cost £10 for 2 courses, you know? And
if you ride on the bikes, you know,
but
they'll have to pay travel fare, which is £1 on a bike.
But actually, I mean, that could also, in a way, the bike is also could also be part of a date idea as well. I mean,
true. So we're coming up with good things here.
Yeah, so you could just have a little cycle around on a Boris bike and, you know, have a bit of fun. And it's a quid and have a bit of a laugh.
You share a bike.
Yeah, share a bike. Hopefully you won't fall off. You know, that could be a bit embarrassing. But, you know, I think, you know, having fun on the cheap, because I think people find dating quite daunting because they think, well, it's going to cost a lot of money. And I think you can get into that territory of like, well, it must you know, I must work out because I've spent £60 or £100. And it doesn't need to be, you start trying to be all crazy inventive, you know, about going on. It's just a date. You're supposed to be talking to one another and interacting and engaging, just having fun, you know. I mean, I'm not the most outdoorsy person, but hiking, for instance, I know is very, like, that will always go down well. If you're quite outdoorsy, you know, going on a hike, you know, you kind of have to work together a bit and support each other, and, you know, you bring your snacks along already so you can save some money there already. And you're just at one with nature and the outdoors. And I think you can get a real sense of a person actually as well, you know. If, say, for instance, if it's like relatively new, this person that you're dating, I think you can get a real sense of a person and their character as well when you're out on a hike, you know, and you haven't got all the distractions of,
they leave you behind.
Well, yeah, if
it's fall over and they just leave you there.
Yeah, I remember, you know, one of my readers saying to me that she went on a hike with somebody. She went on 2, I think, and on one of the dates, he ate all of the food that was in his bag without sharing.
Oh no, that's horrible.
And
big no-no.
That was like, you know, so you can really sort of, you know, he was miles off up the hill, and you don't want to go out. And so then you think, well, somebody who would basically eat all of the food that's in their bag without so much as offering a crumb, it's not somebody that you're going to share a relationship with. I think we need to do
some tips for men sometime. Where's to treat a lady? Don't eat all the food and don't leave her behind. She drops on the ground.
Yeah. And I mean, another thing you can do as well at this time of year is, because obviously it's January, ice skating.
I'm so used to that. I'm so scared of that.
I mean, I haven't been ice skating for ages. The last time I did, I fell in the ice and really gave my back a bit of a whack. And but it is good fun, and actually maybe part of the falling over, you break the ice literally with one another if you're out on, you know, on first dates. And I think, you know, places like the Natural History Museum, you know, have that ice rink up at this time of year, as well as, I think there's one up around Marble Arch as well. But there'll be, you know, there's local places as well that will have the ice rink, and probably be cheaper actually if you're not right in the city as well. And it's good fun.
Actually, I did go with he wasn't even my boyfriend at the time. But we went like as a group at uni, and like, but Michael, who's now my husband, we weren't like interested in one another. He saw me falling over all the time, so he just came along and he picked me up and he took me round and holding my hand. I thought, this guy's nice, so you can see me tell I'm marrying him. Well, not because of that, but that always stuck in my mind. So I thought, out of everyone's sort of getting on with it, and I'm just sort of all over the ice. Just came and picked me up and just took me around, which I thought was really sweet.
That's what I mean, is that dates, I think you can really, you know, if you kind of don't disappear off into La La Land, you can really get a sense of who someone is, you know, their manners on a date and things like that.
If you're going as a group of friends, you can kind of start, you know, the single ones. You think, oh, he's nice.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's caring.
Yeah, and I mean, there is obviously the obvious one, which, you know, it does fall under the budget idea of a date, which depends on which one you go to, but cinema.
Yeah.
Obviously, things like...
Do they still have Orange Wednesday?
That's what I was about to say. You know, I'm sure there tends to be offers with places, you know, but you got to shop around with cinema. Try and find... There's some really lovely, like, you know, I live in South London, I live near Oxted, and there's, I think it's Everyman Cinema, and you get the old cinema experience. So it's like somebody who, you know, Usher comes around and offers you ice cream, you know, and popcorn. It's really reasonably priced. You know, tickets, you know, you can have a cup of tea when you're in there. You know, you can have a glass of wine if you feel like it, and it's just a really lovely experience. And you think, oh, you know, forget about going out for, you know, some 3-course meal. I'll chill out, watch a film, you know.
Exactly.
And the only thing about going to the cinema, you know, when you're an established couple. I think it's easier to go to the cinema, because if you're going on a first date, I don't think it works that well going to the cinema, because you have no interaction. Like, who wants to see you talking to one another in the cinema?
Exactly.
You miss out on that whole interaction.
It's awkward as well, first date.
Yeah,
like,
you know,
sitting next to each other.
You don't know whether to put your hand on
do I
one
hold
another.
hands? Do I just stay like that? I was like...
You know, do you want to go and put your hand in their popcorn, you know, and all that? So I think if you're just started dating somebody, I think when you've maybe been out 3 or 4 times together, going to the cinema, but certainly if you're already together as a couple, then we went to the cinema recently, And we were like, gosh, why don't we do this a bit more often? We really enjoyed it. And we were like, really, we should go like once a month. And what probably happens, we might go once every...
Did you go with the kids or without them?
No, we managed to get rid of them for the afternoon to
That's nice though, you need that, don't you?
But we did, and we really, really enjoyed it. There was no distractions, and it was just really chilled, and we felt like afterwards we were talking about it. So you get the whole conversation of talking about the film instead of talking about chores or work or kids or whichever it is. So you just kind of just reconnect with something that's a little bit romantic and fun.
So Natalie, I know like people that go on there on first dates or they're, you know, quite new in a relationship, they don't want to come across as looking cheap and stuff. So how can people kind of avoid that but still save money?
Yeah, well, I think you've got to do it in a sort of organic, natural way. Like you don't need to be going, so how about we try and organise a budget date, because it just takes the joy out of things. And I think try to keep the money discussions to a minimum. I always say to people, you don't leave your house without money in your wallet, because you shouldn't be trying to do your budget dating by basically having everybody else pay for your dates.
Oh yeah, that's awful. That is.
And so I always say to people, you know, do take money out with you because you don't want to look cheap.
Just in case, right?
It's a budget date. You don't need to look, you know, cheap in the process. But also, don't do the fake reach, you know, which is where you act like you want to, you know, pay towards. You offer to pay, you know, half, you know, go Dutch on the date, and then they go, okay, then, and you're going, what?
How dare you?
Yeah. So don't say, you know, you're gonna, you know, chip in if you're not going to do it. I think make it sound fun. You don't need to talk about, like we were saying about, you don't need to talk about, use the word budgets or cheap, you know.
Or even say I got this really cheap, or we got half off this meal or something.
Yeah, you just need to leave like all of that like out. I mean, if you can, you know, when you come in, you can discreetly turn around and say, you know, I've got my Taste London card or whatever it is.
And tell them.
Yeah, but just kind of keep it fun, and you don't need to turn around and say to the person, you know, I'm taking you out tonight and I just want you to know I've only got like £10 left in my bank account, because those types of things, you just alienate a person by oversharing.
It's kind of
you know.
McDonald's.
Oh yeah, and I think if you're at the point where you're thinking, I'd like to go out on a date, but you know, I don't have much money, I think you need to lead and make a suggestion, because if you're thinking, I don't really have that much money, but I would like to go on dates, and then you get the other person to make the suggestions and they're going, well, let's go to the Ritz, and you're going,
oh gosh.
It's
awkward.
It's awkward. So, you know,
Yeah.
you need to kind of assert yourself, you know, but in a nice way. You don't want to make people, you know, you don't want to make the other person kind of feel like, oh, you know, they don't really want to take me out, you know, because so you go easy on the money talk.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're a more established couple, you know, and you're already in a relationship, it doesn't matter. You can, well, obviously, you still don't want to be cheap, because you don't, when you're in
at that point, you're quite honest with one another, and like.
Yeah, but the thing is, you would like to think that when you're an established couple, you wouldn't go to the trouble of going out in that way if you didn't have the money, because you can wait, you can afford to wait. But again, if you over talk about the whole money thing, then you're going to again suck the enjoyment out of things. You don't want to feel like you're forcing your partner to go out. And so it's just like, hey, let's go and do something fun at the weekend. How about, I was actually in Marylebone earlier before I came here, and I was saying, to my husband, actually it'd be really nice if we just went up there one day and had a walk around through the shops, and there's a little market there, on a Saturday, and he was like, oh, actually that'd be a really, really nice thing to do. It's all nice and casual. There's no, let's go do something cheap.
It's true, yeah. Actually, some of the best dates that I've been on with my husband have been ones that weren't even planned, and we just sort of maybe walk around a bit and like. So I remember there was a time actually I did take a picnic. That was another cheap one we did, but it was so nice. We just went to the park and took a picnic, just sat there for a while, talked.
Actually, speaking of picnics, Zoe did say that you could try an indoor picnic.
Oh yeah.
Have it because I'm not really into the whole cold thing outside, and rain.
I've done
on
that
a picnic blanket.
Yeah,
but an indoor picnic, I think it's really nice and romantic. Not for a new date, because I think you will really weird out somebody if you're like, oh, let's have a first date in my house with an indoor. It kind of sounds a bit like an invitation,
isn't it?
Yeah. But I think you can surprise your partner and say, look, hey, let's chill out tonight and do something like this.
That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah, it's nice and romantic and thoughtful and cheap.
Yeah. Actually, one of the nicest. I just remember this so well that I think my husband and I, we just bought a bag of sweets and we just sat in the town centre on this high ledge And we just sat there, you know, just talking and just eating sweets, and it was just so nice. And it was like, what, cost £1? It wasn't planned. We were just sort of walking around, and we just sat there talking. It was so nice. And
Yeah,
those little things are just.
I think maybe that's something that we forget as well. You know, then obviously the whole show has been talking about, you know, budget ideas, about how you can save, about how you can make the most of what you have, and I think that it's the simple things, and that you don't have to go out and spend, you know, a great deal of money, or even any money really, to go out and enjoy yourself. And that, you know, really it's about having fun with a person. Even if you go out and it's not what you expect, you can still have a lot of fun together, and
don't
just
get grumpy and, you know.
and really appreciate the experience together. I think, you know, a lot of things you've been talking about here, you know, is really about appreciating what you have, making what you have stretch further, you know, saving. You can apply a lot of that really towards the way you date somebody and your relationships. That you know, really, you know, when you're already in a relationship, you can really kind of think, okay, I can really appreciate my partner and just enjoy the little things and surprise one another. And then with dates, you just don't have to turn it into a big palaver.
Yeah, there you go. We've got some great tips there. Thank you so much, Natalie.
Oh, no,
it's time. Thank you. So there you go. So even though you are maybe strapped for cash, there are always ways around things. You probably a lot more creative than what you think. When you actually put your head to it, you probably come up with lots of good ideas, whether it's clothes, whether it's for the kids, whether it's dates as well. So we're not saying here don't have fun or don't spend anything. We're just saying, you know, be wise about it as well, because, you know, you probably get a lot further than what you think. We have reached the end of the show. So if you do want more information about any of our guests tonight, everything will be up on the website, chrissybshow.tv. And we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye for now.